Hello, I'm Terrydavidmulligan, and welcome to the Terrydavidmulligan YouTube channel. I have to think about what I'm doing because I haven't. And I want to introduce Colin James. We've been friends a long time, and I've had great fun in being able to follow his career through 21 albums. And what is it? 8 Junos, 30 Maple Blues Awards, Canadian Music Industry Hall of Fame, and he turned 60, by the way, and spent Valentine's Day on stage at Massey Hall in Toronto, and he's working his way west. You can find the tour dates for Alberta and British Columbia on the Mulligan Stew podcast, mulliganstew.ca, or the Mulligan Stew Show. But this is our video interview. He's in another hotel room somewhere, and I'm in Mill Bay, Vancouver Island, in my studio. But because we've been doing this for so long, we just fall into it. We just fall into the conversation, and 40 minutes later, we're done. Because he's got to go sound check, and I have to do everything else. So do enjoy this, because he's going to talk about the accident that damaged his foot and the back of his hand. He was riding a scooter in the States and got clobbered by somebody in a car and ended up in hospital, woke up in hospital. He's recovering, spent 3 months recovering, and he's back on stage and he's touring. I think the touring is probably actually going to be part of the therapy as well, because he has to use everything, all of his hand and his feet and everything, his mind. So he's happy to be out of the house and playing. And so we're going to talk about all those things and more, and a new book that he's writing, a biography. So check it out right now. Here's Colin James on the Terry David Mulligan YouTube channel. Enjoy. Hello, Colin.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. We can trade the medical stories, but yours is way better than mine. Way better than mine. I saw you Valentine's Day. I saw those photos from Massey Hall, and I cheered. But I also thought, okay, how's the leg doing? How's the hand doing? Because you're actually pushing yourself pretty hard as you normally do. How's that working for you?
It's actually been all right. After I'd never had a real broken bone before, and the foot had a compound fracture. So they had to kind of rebuild it because it was pretty shattered. So it's got like a metal 8 screws in it. And then they had to kind of reset the heel. So the recovery was like 2 surgeries on the foot. And, it took forever just to be able to get out of my foyer. Because when I got home from New York, I had to stay in the front of my house because I couldn't get upstairs. And so I just, I just worked on stuff. And I had been given a mandolin for my 60th birthday, beautiful Gibson F5. And then I had the hand surgery when I got back to Vancouver after the whole thing, because otherwise it would have been charged to the hospital in New York and add to that bill, which was already just outrageous. And we decided to do it back. Yeah, but then I had to decide, I had 2 choices. Don't operate on the hand. Put a cast on. This is kind of boring stuff. Put a cast on and wait 9 weeks, to see if it sets when you have a broken scaphoid, which is the bone that was broken. And it might reset itself and you might be fine and it won't be an issue. But if it doesn't, you got to go through the whole, you have to put a screw in it and wait the whole 9 weeks over again. And I can't really afford that time to not know.
Is it letting you play the way you want to play?
Oh, yeah. It's just, it's like anything else. When you have surgery, I had some numbness at the fingertips in a couple fingers for a while. And that was nerve wracking because I thought, wow. But that went away. And now it's just, learning how to tuck them back so I can do some of the chords. But that's coming already pretty good. So I'm on the back end of all that Terry. And, we started out on the cruise ship, which was a nice way to get my feet wet. We only had
Oh, yeah.
4 shows. And we had such great people. Ronnie Baker Brooks, my old friend from Chicago. His dad, Lonnie Brooks, you got to roll them slow. You got to roll them fast. Roll. The T-Birds covered a lot of. Anyway, he was there, and Kenny Wayne Shepherd was there, and Coco Montoya, an old friend. So that was, first of all, anyway, great to see old friends. Have 4 shows, and I did a show, my first show of all, in a little town called Stuart, Florida, the night before the cruise ship. And I'd never played there before. Beautiful little, little old theater. And we had a great show, and my hands did what I told them to. And it's just repetition now, because I'd spent 3 months, not being able to play since September 15th, since the accident. And then, of course, the surgery wasn't until October when I got back to Vancouver, like later so anyway, it's all good, man. And we got out here on the road, and we got a great crew of people with us, and I'm getting back to my playing stride, and it's a perfect place to do it, because I started bleeding last night because I always get a nick right here, and if I'm not careful, I have a white strat, and it is not a pretty sight. If I'm telling you, man. So last night it was all torn up, but I love those, man. I love when you get 10, 12 shows behind your belt, and you're moving the set list, and you're trying to make it as great as you can, and it's just a great place to be, and that's where I love to be.
Well, I keep thinking of the track "I'm Still Alive."
I know.
Is that when you tell your story on stage?
Yeah, it actually is. But but I don't want to go on about it, and it's like I feel like I got to let it go, and a lot of people haven't even heard about it. So if I bring it up, then it's like, what? And I didn't really want that to happen either. Okay. But it got a fair amount of press when it happened, I think. But yeah.
The possibilities, my friend. And of course, you have Terra Lightfoot opening for you, which is fantastic. I saw a shot, I think Colin Linden sent it to me, of you sitting on a couch songwriting with Terra and
yeah.
I thought that group, wow, there's some tunes going to come out of that.
Well, we just did a show in Hamilton last night, so Tom was out, and it was like so many of a couple of my players are from the area, and at least one of them. But it was awesome, man. It was like I've written upwards to 40 some songs with Tom now. One of the songs, a humorous story. Well, I find it humorous. I was going through songs, and I was going through a songbook, and I saw this song called "Open Your Mind." Just the title and some rough verses, and I remember, and I kind of thought, what is this? And I realized it was a session with Tom. By the end, I think it was something we did at the very end of the day, and it didn't come to fruition. It was like, next time, And I said, actually, the words are pretty good. So I demoed it, and I said, what do you think, Tom? And Tom says, what's this? Yeah, I could have easily said no Tom Wilson on the song at all, and he would never would have done. But it was funny because I said, Tom, this is pretty good. And he says, I have no memory of this. So.
I'm looking at your set list from Massey Hall. Is that kind of locked in? You playing those same?
It changes on the fly, man.
The covers, do they change or do they stay?
They generally stay, but there's a few ones that like I'm doing Bobby Bland's Ain't Nothing You Can Do Right Now.
I love the Magic Sam. That's why I'm crying. I love that.
You know what? And I can't stop playing that song. And on the set list, I have an and or there. Okay. And the or would be more like There's a Fire or Bad Habits, a real straight ahead blues, which I love to do because I love it.
Yep.
But the Coco Taylor, which is actually a Magic Sam song, so I'm told, is so beautiful that I just can't not play it. And I'm finding myself, but sometimes what you do though, Terry, is after like 6 shows in a row where you've done exactly the same set list, you force yourself to, let's move that song. Let's do this instead for a couple days. breathe some life back in the one that you start kind of perfunctorily, you know, do you know what I mean? Like you've just done it so many times that you've not lost your joy, but sometimes it's good to change it up. That's it. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
It's your prerogative, my friend. It really is. All right. And now I talked to you after you had left Nashville and Colin Linden's Pinhead, and you set these tunes in motion. And I kind of wonder, after playing the studio version, the record version of the song, do you start to find a different avenue, a way to speak them, the way to present them?
You know, I mean, when you do a record, you know, you go in and you sing it the best you can at that moment, because it was just usually created recently, and there's no real set pattern. You know, you just learn how to, you know, do what you do in a song, tell a story, and make sure the end has a denouement or whatever. But when you play them live, it's just another world. You know, it's like the song flows. It's just interesting. Like in "I'm Still Alive's" case, you know, it's like a Thrill Is Gone minor blues at the end of the day. That's the style of song it is. But live, it just takes on another thing, and it's quite it's easy to play. It's kind of beautiful because it doesn't have a lot of sharp edges. I'm talking so abstractly today. I just rolled out of the bus. We were driving all night in a snowstorm.
I saw that.
Just really bad. And the driver of the bus is killer, though. He's like super, super good.
Well, that's the only way you can sleep, if you're the wrong driver. That's for damn sure.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about this. So having said that, I'll ask you some larger questions, like your original audience that you hard earned from gig to gig to gig, tour to tour to tour, through various guitars and voices and hairstyles and whatever. They're still with you, but there seems to be a new generation discovering you as well. I'm in some of the feedback on Insta and Facebook. They're bringing their kids, they're bringing their family, they heard you in their growing up.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Well, that's the very best. That is the very best. I mean, I met Dave McClain. When I was like 8 years old or something, or 9 years old. I was super young. And he showed me how to do a little thing on the guitar at that time, and it meant the world to me. When I see kids of people who were fans who kind of grew up with the music, whether they liked it or not, it's like me with the Grateful Dead. I probably wouldn't have ever heard the Grateful Dead if it wasn't for my oldest brother, Robbie. You know, he loved them. So I don't listen to them a whole lot now, but I grew up with it, whether, you know, one way or the other. But when a couple kids, 18, 20, 24, 30, come out to the show and say, hey, it's our first time we've ever seen you, or they just became of age so they could go to the club or whatever. Well, I don't play clubs so much anymore, but you know what I'm saying? And it's the best. It's the absolute best, especially if they're a player, you know, but not necessarily so. I mean, but you're right. Like a guy like Steve Miller, you know, is multi-generational. I mean, multi-generational. And I think that hopefully that's what all you could ask for in a career is like bring people along as you go. Wouldn't that be great?
I saw feedback from the comments at Massey Hall. Someone said, how many sets tonight? It's not a bar. It's Massey Hall.
Well, I do sets on the trio show.
Yeah. Okay.
If we do the trio show, I do 245s because I don't mind that. You regroup and you can kind of, you know, again, a set has a trajectory, and you try to make it just so. I find two. I don't mind it, but on regular shows, I don't love it. Yeah.
You have become what you dreamt of becoming: a working musician, playing the blues, a singer, a songwriter, a player. Now finally, Colin, you're starting to see an audience in the United States. They're there. You've won them over. You play open for Buddy Guy. Of course, that helped a lot. But also Austin City Limits, just going back and playing and playing and playing again. Do you get that sense?
It's just, it's just such a huge country. Yes, I do. I mean, I have an American agent, and I've
Yeah.
I'm trying to. We're playing the Coach House down in San Capistrano. Coming up in March. We played there last year. It's just so hard to get back. I played Denver at a little place called the Soiled Dove, but it's gone now. It's just so hard to get back to places, and down there. I have to really, I can't take the full band out because I don't get, I have to work down there. I have to, but it's interesting that, I get played on the blues stations. I get put on the playlist with a bunch of my heroes and, and a bunch of people so it's been really nice because don't forget, like not until 2016, did I really? I always had this rock career that was like rock pop career, and then I slowly dabbled into the Little Big Band and the National Steel thing, and kind of proved that I guess that I really did love that music and cared for it. But really, the only time someone in the United States would hear me as a blues player because a lot of them didn't hear the Little Big Band. Yeah. Some did, swing societies and specialty. People who love that kind of music heard it. But until, and I only got my Memphis, the Memphis Awards, the Blues Foundation Award. I only got my first nomination 2 records ago. But it's really nice to know now when I run into these people, they all know who I am.
You know what it is? Yeah. Traction. You got traction.
Yeah. The name's out there now, and now in my world, I just want to be able to get to more places. I got a European agent now, so we're heading over to France and Germany in September. I hope that goes well. They're brand new with me. I outfit out of Denmark, so I'm looking forward to that.
Another word is balance. You found balance in your writing. You have a format, a family of writers yourself. You start with yourself and work out as you need them. But you got blues, you got rock, you got acoustic, you got roots. Is there a country in you?
Only if it has kind of a bluegrass strain for me. Like I'm an Alison Krauss fan. Okay. I there's certain stuff I like. I don't have a huge I love like I don't know you from Adam, but if you're gonna play the jukebox, please don't play A11. I like that old school Buck Owensy. Well, she's in some honky tonk tonight, I know. I love those like kind of things, but I don't really go for the I don't know.
Okay. All right. I'll mark that down as an I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
The tunes, how are they doing? How are they wearing now on the road? And you're bringing them across the country.
There's all kinds of songs. There's a big book now, and if you have, we got horns on most of the shows, at least one, sometimes two. We had to say goodbye to a horn player just yesterday, but who is our baritone player. But we have other ones joining us in other cities, and so there's
you need your Barry scoops. You got to have your scoops.
But great band, great crew. So happy to be back out. It was just a real kind of shitty fall in September, and really at that point, all you're thinking is when will I be able to walk up the stairs? And what will I be able to put a shoe on? Those kind of small. So to imagine being back on stage and playing full 1 hour and a half shows was like, but it's like, here we are and we're doing it, and it's just the best.
He's Colin James, and he's chasing the sun is what he's doing. He's on his bike and he's heading for Horseshoe Bay. And you're heading for Alberta, of course.
I already had my first bike ride since the accident.
Ah, nice.
I went around Stanley Park. I went out of North Van around Stanley and back. And I was nervous though, but I was fine.
And afterwards, did it rest and relax? The foot, did it recover?
Well, I biking for me is like a complete I love it. And it's my fresh air. It's my mental health. It's all that. So, yeah.
By the way, are you setting off any alarms at the airports with your pins?
I just tell them I was in a parachute mishap. I used to be I just say whatever now.
So you're coming to Alberta, and the Alberta fans are waiting for you. Okay. And
Awesome.
Then you're hitting Vancouver. Then you're coming up the Vancouver Island, where I am. You go right by the house with their traditional 2 nights at the port in Nanaimo.
That's right. That's right.
Why do they get 2 nights?
Well, it's a smaller theater.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought maybe you had a.
I know. I think it's like 800. I can't remember. But and then Victoria, and then we're a couple of shows in Washington, and then we're home for a bit, and then we're doing the Quebec town. We're doing Quebec as a trio in March. We're going down to California and doing a few dates in Arizona.
And then you're into festival season.
Well, yeah, then there's that. And then I'm starting to, already think about what's next and what, going forward. But, where, Americana is just such, and it's so funny that it's so funny saying the word, especially in this climate of sovereignty and fucking paranoia and all this stuff. To be a Canadian artist and be looking at Americana music is kind of funny in some ways. But how blues do you want to be? How much do you want to widen that scope so you can be a bit of a songwriter? And not that you can't when you're playing blues, but it's a different palette. So it's like I went a little wider on this record, trying to do a bit more original music and be a little more, whereas the other records were a bit more like a James Cotton song and a Muddy and then original. And then, so, I guess that's what I'll have to negotiate, because it's a big radio field. It's hard radio to get noticed in. It's just rife with, what's going on, Sierra Farrell and you know what it's like. It's just packed, and to get noticed there when I already I'm noticed in the blues scene, it's gonna be hard. So I'm gonna have to negotiate that, figure that out.
Okay, Colin. Now, tell me how the book is going.
I'm almost done.
Wow. How long? When did you start?
Well, I started while I was. When did we start? Oh, way before the accident and stuff. And then I had a regrouping and had a different co-writer join me from Toronto, and we got along like a house on fire, and that really expedited the process. Plus, my accident, I tended to write mostly on airplanes, especially long flights.
Sure.
So I found that was a really fertile place to just go, okay, and just like next thing you know, you're there. It was crazy.
The thing I know about you, and I think your fans do as well, is that you're a storyteller. We're seeing it on stage now. You're doing stories between songs, leading into it, just adding to the fabric of the songs and how they came to be. So now that this is a different format, going back and examining your life, you've got good memory too. You remember places and dates and things. So for me, it was painful to try to remember. I had to look at photographs to remember things. How about you?
Well, I had to get a subscription to a site where I could like really get into newspapers that have from long ago. You couldn't do a general search. It just wouldn't show up anything. So I'd have to go, Leader Post, 1977, and I have to go to the music section and find out what the place I went to music lessons at when I was 10. I had a very short-lived guitar lessons, and I found it. So I had to do a bunch of that, and finding out what years things happened was very confusing because so much happened between 13 and 20, like just boom, crazy of series of events really. So that was the hardest, finding timelines, making sure you weren't lying, making sure like that what you like double checking to make sure that date was right. And when you saw Sonny, Terry, Brown and McGee, what concert hall was that? Because my mind sometimes was completely wrong. I could have sworn I saw them at a place called the Fifth Dimension in the Scar Street Mall in Regina, Saskatchewan. Do you remember that old folk club?
Fourth Dimension.
Fourth Dimension.
There was a string of them across the country.
My high school I went to high school like a block from there, Sheldon Williams. But I remember in my mind, when I was 8 years old, I got plunked down in front of Sonny, Terry, Brown and McGee at that place.
Yeah.
And then I found out he only played that in 1962. And then I found out he played the Education Auditorium at the Regina University. And that's where I would have seen him.
I made a deal with the Fourth Dimension Coffee House. I would stay in one half of the band house and just watch over it while I was doing my radio shifts. And I would share it with whoever was playing the Fourth Dimension Coffee House, which is how I got to spend 10 days with Joni Mitchell.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
She was writing.
Yeah.
Great conversation, shared tea in the kitchen. Fantastic. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I love it. I got to know Joni a little bit too. And it was a trip, someone you've heard your whole life like that. And then you're sitting at a table with them. It's nuts. Yeah.
What's the working title of the book?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm ready to say.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I got two different titles.
Colin James, I'm Still Alive.
No. Well, we had a title, but I found out Shirley MacLaine named a book that 15 years ago called You Can Get There From Here, which I liked because I thought one thing I want to do with this book is, I think what I was always, the only thing, I mean, I never thought about writing a book, but I thought, when you grow up in a place, anywhere, you think that maybe your place will not allow you to get to the places you need to get to. And there's always a sense of, obviously, if you're in certain more rural places or in a city like Regina, like I was, it's not New York, let's face it, right? And at some point you go, oh my God, no one's going to take me seriously from here, like, because you hear about the cities, the big cities, the Chicagos, the Vancouvers, the Torontos. And, like everyone comes from, it's just like you could, and often what might be a setback in your life, you might be sitting in the best possible place because it's not really a setback, because maybe you're one of the only people around that is doing that kind of music. So when something happens, your name comes to mind. So, things that seem to be setbacks could be pluses. So, yeah.
Have you realized how lucky you are to be able to have this life?
Yeah, I really do. And, because I quit school in grade 10 and I went, well, I better get going and get playing because this is what I want to do. I mean, that was it's not like I didn't hear the naysayers saying, well, good luck with that. See you at the gas station kind of thing, Wow. Yeah, I feel very fortunate, and it's really all I ever wanted, was to be able to keep playing music and not get stuck in a box, like be able to morph and change as your tastes change and your world change. Who you were here is not necessarily who 5 years from now. You might, music changes, everything changes, and I've been lucky enough to be able to, like on the boat the other day, we did a little big band set on the very last show. Wow. And we have charts, and we had none of the players except for my core band. We had guys from Kenny Wayne Shepherd's band. We had charts. So we just gave the horn player the charts and off we went. A whole 30 songs that we didn't play on any other time on the boat. So it's just awesome.
All right. Couple of big questions. I'll let you go. I talked to a director once, a film director, who was just coming off a really good film and going into another one. And he said something almost to himself. He said, I have to pick these scripts very, very, very carefully because I don't quite know how many I'll get to make in my lifetime. Because
I see where you're going.
Anywhere from 3 to 10 years.
Yeah.
How many do I have left in my life? And choose wisely. Do you have those same moments?
Well, I was just saying today, ironically, that there's obviously when there's producers that you've always wanted to work with. There's musicians that would be cool to write with, or but and you never can lose you gotta not lose your courage and still take chances. On the other hand, a record is like 2 years of work, just getting it together, sometimes less, sometimes more. And then, and if you're going to do it, you're not going to want to experiment. I guess that's the thing. Like, say there's a producer you want to work with, and say you've heard that they have an attitude a little bit like it's their way or the highway. And if you get stuck in that arrangement, you may lose some of your autonomy. You're going to be hesitant to go there, because and the 3 records I made this with Colin, and he's a great old friend. But the 3 ones before that, I was the producer with my friend David Mazzaros, who's an engineer, and we did it together as and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that too, because I'm a bit of not a control freak, but I'm super picky. And nowadays when you're recording, you're doing so much sending back and forth that it's really hard. Like, what I miss, Terry? Sitting in the room with the producer until the record's done.
Wow.
Like, with Joe Hardy years ago, or, you'd go and do the beds. The band would fly home. You'd fly home just as well. And then you go back, and then you do another 2 weeks with the producer. You just get it done. And now, unfortunately, budgets aren't what they used to be, and everyone has to nip and tuck, and so you end up doing stuff over the internet, sending files, and that's one thing I miss, just getting her done.
Well, let me see. All right, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me see if I got this right. Order of BC celebrated your 60th birthday at the P&E. Valentine's Day at Massey Hall. 8 Junos, 20 Maple Blues, Canadian Music Industry Hall of Fame. How do you define success?
Oh, we'll be able to continue.
Sure. See the end.
At the end of the day, because it's not. That's it. It's not. And a family life, like I've had, I love my kids. I'm so glad they're happy and doing well. And I wasn't always there because of shows and stuff growing up, but it's I've really been able to do that and have it's just been I've been able to have a marriage that's lasted 34 years and have kids and play and do what I love. So bing, bang, boom.
You've had a life.
Yeah.
When does that book come out, by the way?
I don't know. Once we deliver, apparently it takes like about a year after that. So, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Not too long though, because I'm on the last, like as far as my involvement, I'm writing the last chapter right now, because we're not taking it. It's not a whole thing. We're basically from just the formative, the building of the getting there and the first record deal. And I think that's
okay. That's exactly the same thing as Becoming Led Zeppelin, the film that's out at IMAX.
Is that right?
We interviewed the directors. I said, what? I said the only thing we're going to concentrate on is the beginning when they first meet, and the 18 months later when they release that first album. That's right. What we're talking about. Right there is the story.
Well, that's what we're going to do too, because I got signed to Virgin America, and then got Tom Dowd as a producer, and Tom flew to Vancouver, but he also flew to Toronto and saw me open up for Albert King, because he wanted to see who he was going to be working with. So yeah, I think that's where we're going to wind up, somewhere in there, but we'll see.
Okay.
See when we get there.
Fantastic. Other than that, I'm very happy to read the response of your audiences as you come across the country. They really love you. They love the fact that they're spending a night with you, and it's memories for them. It's all memories. They're building memories.
Yeah, I mean, Massey the other night was just such. Well, all the shows are a joy, but Massey was like that's the one that it's got this. I don't know. There's a weight to that room. There's just like the Commodore, just like the Ryman. There's certain rooms that are part of the party.
And your photos on the front of that Massey Hall. That's a great shot of you. That poster at the front. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah. It's James O'Mara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you take care of yourself and enjoy the. Oh, by the way, last thing, those 10, 15 steps that you take from the side of the stage to the microphone and the center spot. What do you tell yourself going out? Do you feel? Are you feeling the room, or you're talking to yourself? What's the dialogue?
You only knew what good. It's a nightmare in there, Jared. I've gotten better. I used to have this funny thing where, and my wife would point it out to me that I would look at the audience almost like a combatant, or I forget that they want to be there. I want to be there. And it should be a joyful experience. So she's had to remind me a few times that, and I've had other people say the same thing, like, just have fun, connect with people who came to see you and enjoy it.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it so much. You get home safely. I'll see you on the island.
All right. See you there.
Very like, okay.
Awesome.
Take care of yourself. Good luck.
Okay, man. Thanks.